Hi everybody, this is Teacher Paul at the Victory Team. I have something special. We have a three-episode series by a pastor friend of mine. His name is Pastor Dunbar. He pastors a church in Northeast Texas, Paris, Texas. He was in our area recently and I was able to record with him. This is such a blessing. This is his deal. This is so good. I want you to get all of them, so please like and subscribe. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Pastor Dunbar from Ramshire Baptist Church in Paris, Texas, and I'm here to speak to you. And I want to look at three brothers in Scripture, and we're going to see how their lives had a lot of similar things happen and how all three of them responded to the events that happened in their life. First, I'd like to look at Proverbs 23:7. It says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee." Well, look at that first part. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. I've always thought about that verse. How does a man think in his heart? And there's a diagram I have that I think helps explain this. Our mind is our thoughts. Our heart is our emotions. And then we have a will that makes decisions. And anything that comes into our mind that we process, whether it be intruding thoughts, images, events, triggering things, temptation, anything that we get, that we process, enters our mind. We get a thought about it. We have an emotional response to that thought. Then our will makes a decision about it. It produces an action, and then we have an end result. And often, a lot of that, it happens just that quick. And as time goes on, we make those decisions faster and faster and faster. And we don't even have to really think about it. It just happens very quickly. Keep that in mind as we look at these three brothers. The three brothers I want to talk to you about are Reuben, Judah, and Joseph. Okay? Three brothers that all three were tempted with some kind of sexual sin. The first one is Reuben. We find his temptation in Genesis 35:21 through 22, where Bilhah, his dad's wife, it was handmaid and became his wife. He was tempted, and we just get this brief mention of how he went in unto his dad's wife and he fornicated with her. We don't know all the events that led up to it, but we know that this happened, and he sinned against his father. He took something that didn't belong to him, and he fornicated with his dad's wife. Next, we have Judah. He's found in Genesis 38:1 through 30. And Judah, he goes into what he thinks is a prostitute and ends up finding out later that it's his daughter-in-law that he goes in unto. And he fornicates with her, and she ends up getting pregnant with 2 children by him. You say, how does that happen? Well, we'll look into that a little bit further. And then the last one is Joseph. Genesis 39:1 through 20. Joseph is a servant. He's a slave for Potiphar, and Potiphar's wife comes to him, and she tempts him daily. Lie with me, lie with me, lie with me. And Joseph puts her off, says, no, I can't do this great wickedness. He doesn't want to sin against God, doesn't want to do that thing against his master. And one day she just grabs him by the coat and tries to force him upon her. He takes his coat off and flees. And she's left with his coat and ends up crying out saying, look what he tried to do to me. Makes a false accusation against him. And he ends up getting thrown in prison because of him not doing anything. Him actually trying to live righteous, trying to help her live righteous, and he gets a false accusation. Next, I want to look at their childhood trauma. What are some things that happened in their childhood? And they had some trauma in their childhood that the two, Reuben and Judah, somehow they believed the lies in their childhood, and somehow Joseph, he was able to work through it. And why did these two guys fall into that sin and temptation and fornicate? And why is it that Joseph didn't? Well, Reuben and Judah in Genesis 29:31 through 35, we find something very interesting. That first verse, 31, makes mention that Jacob had 2 wives. Rachel he loved, but it says Leah he hated. That's a very strong word to say that somebody was hated, but the fact of the matter is that's exactly what it was. He hated Leah. And if you know much about the story, Jacob had worked 7 years. He was supposed to marry Rachel. But the custom of the land was the eldest daughter would get married first, and then the younger daughter could be married after. Well, for whatever reason, Jacob didn't think anything of this, and his Laban was going to give him the wife, and instead he throws a fast one and he gives him Leah first. And Jacob wakes up the next morning and there's Leah, not Rachel, and now she's his wife. And I think about that. He was mad at Laban, but he's also mad at Leah because she was in on it. She allowed the ruse, she allowed the lies that Jacob believed, thinking he was getting Rachel, but in reality he was getting somebody else. Now, Laban said, hey, work 7 more years and you'll get to have Rachel to be your wife as well. And so he ended up having 2 wives. That's not how God wanted things done, but Jacob ends up getting 2 wives. But Judah and Reuben are the sons of the hated wife. It was very evident that Jacob loved Rachel and he loved her children. And so these 2 boys, they went through feeling rejection from dad because they're the sons of the hated wife. They're not the sons of Rachel. And so they went their whole life feeling this rejection from dad. I'm sure there were things that were said. I'm sure they heard some things. They knew dad doesn't love us like he loves Joseph, like he loves Benjamin. And it was very, very hurtful on them, I'm sure. One other thing with Reuben we see in Genesis 30, verses 14 through 16. Reuben is out in the field and he finds these mandrakes and he brings them home and he gives them as a gift to his mother. He says, Mom, I want to give you these mandrakes. And then his Aunt Rachel comes up to Leah and says, give me your son's mandrakes. I want them. Leah had several children, Rachel had not, and her hopes was, I'll get these mandrakes and it'll, they figured out, this will help with pregnancy or something. Well, she wanted the mandrakes, and Leah said, no, these were given to me from my son. And Rachel tells Leah, she says, if you give me your son's mandrakes, I'll let you have Jacob, our husband. You can have sex with him tonight. You can sleep with him tonight. And so Leah takes this gift and gives it to Rachel. And when her husband comes home from the field, meets him and says, come, you get to lie with me tonight because I've paid for you with my son's mandrakes. Reuben saw a gift that he had given to his mom be turned around and be used to purchase sex. How hurtful. Imagine giving something precious to your parents and they turn around and use it for something else and just give away the gift like it didn't mean anything to them that you gave that to them. And he experienced that. So both of these boys, men, Reuben and Judah, they both experienced rejection. What about Joseph? Joseph is loved by his dad. He's the favored son. How did he feel rejection? Well, Joseph felt rejection. Genesis 37, 3 through 8, he gets rejection from his brothers. Imagine being the youngest brother. You want to fit in with your older brothers. You want to hang out with them. You want to be with them. But they're constantly, I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with you. When he tells them about his dreams, they mock him. They laugh at him. You think we're going to bow down before you? But then the worst thing is he's sent on a mission by his dad to go find his brothers. They're out with the flocks and he finally finds them and they see him coming and they say, let's kill him. And they take him and they strip him of his precious coat of many colors that dad had given him. They toss him in a pit and then they begin to sit there and eat some food and drink while he's hungry, thirsty in that pit. And talking about how are we going to kill our little brother because we're sick and tired of him. Because he's the favorite of dads. And he hears that. But then even worse, they see a caravan of men go by and they think, why should we have his blood on our hands? Let's sell him as a slave. Let's make a profit off of him. And so they end up selling him. Could you imagine the cruelness, the hatred you have to have in your heart to sell your sibling as a slave and to hear them as they're being dragged away, bound, them screaming your name saying, please don't do this to me. Please don't take me away from Dad. I don't know where they're going to take me. Please don't do this. And Joseph is bound and gagged, I'm sure, and gone. He sees his brothers in the distance as he's being, by force, taken away. What trauma. What heartache for him. He had a lot he had to process. The complete rejection of his brothers who said, see ya, as they're clicking at their coins that they received because they sold him as a slave. Hi, my name's Jason Dunbar. I'm pastor of Ramseur Baptist Church in Paris, Texas. That's in the northeast section of Texas. And if you like this, you can go on our website, rbcparis.org, and find the links to our channels. We hope you enjoyed this.